So FM synthesis was invented in the 80s by this guy called John Chowning in Stanford University. So as everything you invent in Stanford, the patent belonged to Stanford for a while. Well, John Chowning could use it very freely at that time. To make good synthesis, you need to work at the university to have access to big computers or to big synthesizers. But still, FM synthesis changed the deal because working with analog synthesis, for example, it was pretty tough to make good additive synthesis. Because remember, when we did the additive synthesis, we use a ton of operators. Like we need like at least 20 up to 100 sine waves to actually make something interesting or complex. And that was pretty, you mean you need like a really big analogic synthesizer to get that results. And with FM synthesis, we're 2, 3, 4, 2 or 3 sine waves, you were getting really complex and interesting results. After a while, Yamaha buy the patent and they could like start making synthesizers that work that way. And then after a while, they get in what you call in the market this pretty famous synthesizer. I don't know if anybody knows this one. They are pretty popular. There's like a whole cult behind Yamaha, the EX7. They are like really not expensive. People like have it and they really appreciate. Yeah,
I had one at 85.
Really? Wow, yeah. Nice. I'm a big fan of Yamaha DX7s, even though I never have one myself.
85, not 85, perhaps a little bit later. Yes.
Ah, wow, cool. I really like this synthesizer. Actually, the thing that was so important in this synthesizer is first, it was digital, not analogic. Second,
it's the first one, yes.
First one of the, also, it contains algorithms of different FM techniques that you can change through. Well, it has like a really small screen, and like here, but it was better to connect it to a computer and actually deal with the stuff there. And it came with a lot of default gorgeous FM synthesis sounds. So it was super popular. It has like a whole culture behind it. Also here in Mexico, it's pretty popular in the cumbia and salsa groups because it has like default sounds that they really like. So they really like to play with that. So it's also pretty desired in that genre. So yeah, so what we're gonna do today is learn about FM synthesis and try to imitate Yamaha DX7 in SuperCollider. I have done it a couple of times, so it will be cool. So yeah, let's get to the theory behind this. So frequency modulation is to have a sine wave like this, which frequency will be modulated by another sine wave. This modulation is done by addition, by a sum. It could also be done by a multiplication, but with the multiplication, the results get pretty crazy pretty quickly and are so unstable. It's better to do it with the addition. So we sum to that frequency another sine wave, but this one will be silent one, a control rate. So basically, the frequency that is sounded, it's called carrier. And this is like basic FM nomenclature. This is the one that's sounding. And the one that's modulating, basically is called the modulator. So I'm gonna open my, now you're seeing the whiteboard?
Yeah.
Okay. So I'm gonna draw here an XY axis. In this case, it's gonna be a little counterintuitive, but the X axis will mean spectrum. So this will be like 20 Hertz. And this will be like, 10,000 Hertz or something. And in this case, y-axis will act as amplitude, as magnitude, as the power in amplitude of the frequencies I will be drawing. So let's imagine something pretty simple, like I have here a frequency. Oh, that was awful drawing. Also, also, I have a mouse in here. This has to do with the Illustrator stuff. I have a mouse in here. I don't know if you can see it.
Yeah.
Yeah, this is a trackball mouse. I bought it because I have like wrist problems because of using the computer all day and the Wacom and everything. So I use it now and it solved the problems, but I really can't draw with this. I actually, when I use Illustrator, I got back to my trackpad or to the Wacom, but they still hurt. It's so I now order like bandage or something. Well, that's a personal problem. So just to say that I'm pretty bad with this, I'm not really good at drawing, but as you can see, you know what? I'm gonna use the trackpad just because I want to be fast at this. So yeah, no, so let's imagine we have a frequency here. Yeah, and this frequency is working at, I don't know, let's say 500 hertz. This is our AR frequency that we wanna call carrier, right? So this frequency, it's gonna be modulated. So it's gonna make an addition with the KR frequency called the modulator. That one I'm gonna draw in here. In yellow, I mean in green. Remember here, the size of the frequency means amplitude. And this one will be 800 hertz. So, and this one will be the modulator. So what happens? Well, mathematically, it's something a little bit more complicated what I will do. But basically, FM synthesis start to fill the spectrum with new frequencies that come out of additions and subtractions that are generated by these two. So these two make a relation in which they are going to be sum and rest subtracted. So first, it's 500 plus 800. It's 1,300, right? So I'm gonna start drawing new. The ones that I'm gonna draw are gonna be orange because they actually sound. So here, it generates a new frequency here of 130. Also, the subtraction of this generates a 300 here. They are start to get slower because as they are generated, every one of them is less volume. Oh, but they also start to sum each other into each other. So I will give, this is the original relation. I'm going to use purple for add up relation. So actually also this one generate a new relation. So those ones, 1300s like up to this one. So they generate a new one here of 1,800. Also the sum, the rest of, yeah.
Hertz?
Yeah, all this hertz.
Yeah.
It's hertz.
Yeah, all this, I'm thinking in hertz.
But I didn't understand the 1018.
Yeah, the 1018 is generated because of the sum of this one with this one.
Ah, okay.
Okay, because the new ones also make relations with each other. Also,
Yeah.
the subtraction of this generates a new one of 800 here, but with less volume. Also, these ones generate a new 800 here and the sum generates, the sum does that, and the subtraction generates a 200 here. Also, this one generates a new relation here. Oh, but I want to put it in purple. Also, this one with these ones, and so on. They start filling the spectrum with, sorry about that. This is gonna be, so here you get more and more and more, because the relation is each to everybody, right?
Yeah.
Until they have so less volume that they doesn't generate new ones.
It's like a fractal.
A kind of the fractal, exactly. So these ones also, this one with this one, this one with this one, this one with these ones, you know. Obviously, as they start to go on, the relations are loose because they have too little spectrum, and then we can't fill that. How much the number of frequencies that are actually generated depends on the modulator. The modulator is this one.
Mm-hmm.
So the modulator itself, it has like in collider will be like our sinus that will have frequency, frec mod, the frequency of modulation, the phase, and then the mul. Remember that the mul stands for amplitude. But in this case, this amplitude, because it's in control rate, doesn't show up as volume, but it shows as index of modulation. So as more index has this one, so if this one is bigger in volume, then the first results are also bigger, and then the correlation grows, and you get a complex spectrum. If you put the index lower, then the resultants are lower, and they generate less spectrum. So the volume of the modulator it's kind of how much it will transform into how much modulation you want. As more modulation, you start to get a complex and complexier, or more complex. I don't really know about the grammatical of that word, but to get more spectrum and then less spectrum. And also remember that, and this is pretty important, that the numerical relation between these two numbers, it's also important, because in this case, I use first two integer numbers that had a relation of common index multiplicator, because as you can see, 200, 300, 500, 800, all these numbers belong to the same spectral harmonic series. But if, for example, this instead of being a 500 will be a 511, then all the results will be irrational results, and you will get a noisier, more dissonant results. So the sound that you get as a result from FN will be a combination between this number, and index. So that's kind of the main idea. I know this can be a little tricky, but it's gonna get clearer, I hope. So first of all, up to this point, is there any question? I know it's kind of weird.
Yeah, just why do you use a control rate and not audio rate for the modulant? Because I mean, we want to modulate at audio rate, so.
Because we were modulating the frequency. The problem with this is that in this case, now I'm using
because KR to me it's more like if we're just doing like a tremolo or like a vibrato. So it's
yeah, like... but because you're like making that addition to the frequency, then the result is audio rate. The problem, and it's a pretty easy one, is that this number here, the index, the volume, transform into how much modulation. And usually the numbers are from 10 up to 10,000. And that numbers would be really, really bad numbers if this frequency was actually sounding. Because if us was actually sounding, then the index will also reflect as volume, and we can really go really high.
No,
that's basically the reason. So
no, no, of course, okay.
Yeah. So yeah, any other question? I know that now can be a little bit tricky, but let's go to SuperCollider and then come back to the whiteboard. Maybe that could help us. So wait me a second. Give me a second. So yeah, sorry about the interruption. There's a question here. The index is the amplitude of the modulator. Yeah, exactly. Exactly. So let's make an example here that actually deals with sound. So make a really simple one, and I could carrier. But I don't need carrier, I just will put modulator. So modulator equals to my sine wave. Okay. So this frequency, I'm gonna use the example of the board.
Michelle?
0. Yeah.
Sorry, I get the COVID-19 vaccine yesterday,
Yeah.
and I am a little bit dizzy because of the collateral disturbs of the vaccine. Now I'm a little bit dizzy, so I will continue to see the recording video this night or tomorrow. Okay.
Okay.
Leave. Sorry.
Don't worry.
Okay. Bye bye. Bye
Bye.
bye to all.
Jose,
Recording. So well, cool. So we have the modulator here. So this will be frequency of modulation, and this will be the amount of modulation, in this case, the index. So I'm gonna leave it in 1. And you will see that at 1, you almost can't hear the modulation. So my carrier will be my sinus. This I will put 500 just to follow that, and a normal amplitude. So I'm gonna use the scope just to make, because you can see how quickly it can change. So as you can see, at 1 of modulation, you can, it's almost a sine wave. You are not getting new results. So I'm gonna put it at 10. Now I can put play, because now if I run this again, I will get a new scope, and I will start to fill out with windows. There we go. Of course, this is not affecting what I'm thinking. Sorry. Close modulator. Okay, now she should work. So that's 1. That's 10. That's 10. A little bit. 100. Now I get modulation. 1000. Let's do 5,000. Let's do, I don't know, 10,000. You can really get crazy with this. So you can see, you can radically change the spectrum pretty quickly with just adding a lot of modulation. Also, for example, I want to put it on 10,000 again. Also, the relation between frequencies affects a lot, because if I leave that modulation like stable in 10,000 and I change these numbers, radically change the results. over a very big number. I think that was too big with a lot of modulation, maybe like that. It's weird. Maybe a really small number. That will help. That will work. This is a number that will be below here spectrum, but still will get results. A really cool one. Why still we get results? Because even though it's modulating but a frequency that doesn't sound, the result sounds are hearable spectrum. 500 plus 3, we got 503, and so on. So all the results are actually hearable. So for example, I can use like a really small one. For example, I will start modifying this. I like that type of warm sounds. I get a question here. Is it possible to create drone sounds with the FM synth? Yeah, and actually gorgeous drone sounds. Is one myself, at least as part of my own exploration, the sounds that at least that I like it more and that are more easy to produce with FM synthesis are percussive sounds, metallic sounds, drone sounds, and really weird alien sounds. For example, if you want to produce like pianos or pads or that type of stuff, it's a little bit difficult, a little bit complexer. I think there are better techniques for making harmonic sounds, but still you can do it very good with Synos. So this is like just the first step of FM. So up to this point, we are kind of clear of how this is working?
Yes.
I'm really interested in metallic sounds. Okay, so yeah, we're gonna produce some metallic sounds today, and also I will show you not just the ones that produce today, but also example of things that I used in my piece, because I made like 4 or 5 pieces only using FM. So I really like FM. At first, FM can be read it that's really wild, because sometimes you move a little number and you get a total different result. So it's kind of difficult to get the hang of it, but once you are like really acquainted, it gets better. So let's go to the next, to the next step of FM. So I want to go a little bit further in, how do you call this? Theory of building. So basically now we are doing this, right? We are going like this. This is my carrier. So hello carrier. And we are connecting to the frequency a modulator, right? Sorry about that. I have to change to, there we go. So this is the modulator. And here in the modulator, we have like the frequency of the modulator. And here with the volume, we have the index, right? Here, as you can see, I'm writing on again with my trackball, and I really lose ability with the trackball, but it's super good for my hands, so I like it. Also, the trackball is awesome to work with, like normal software like Dove Designer and Ableton and everything, because it feels really smooth on the screen. But yeah, so index. So basically what we are doing, we are modulating this carrier by a sine wave, right? Because this modulator is generating a sine wave. So now the carrier is generating a more complex sounds that isn't a sine wave, because of the modulation, we affect the wave shape, and we get a different sound. So the way to get this a little bit interesting, and that's when actually FM gains its power, is if we produce what I wanted in green, because colors are important. Where is the green? Yeah, no, it's not green. Yeah, what? Sorry, there we go. So what if I put a new modulator 2, that contains its new index, obviously. and its frequency, right? And what if I connect this one to the frequency of this one? And I made the FM. So I modulate the modulator. So what happens? This modulator outputs a sine wave that will be affecting this modulator. So this modulator, then it doesn't will be outputting a sine wave. It will be outputting a pre-processed signal. Where is the whiteboard? I stopped sharing? Yeah. Sorry. I pressed the wrong button. Yeah. So we are in the whiteboard again, right? So this one, it will be outputting a new shape. So this shape will be the one that actually affect the carrier to get a different shape. So why is that interesting? So now I have more relations because I have the relation of this frequency and this frequency. And the relation of this frequency and this frequency, and I have two indexes of modulation. And it really escalates how complex my sounds can be. Also, we're gonna get, once we get the hang of it, I wanna add an extra step. But for now, let's just work with this. Operator 1, operator 2, and operator 3. Two modulators, well, a carrier being modulated by a modulator that's being modulated by a modulator. So theoretically, this makes sense. Cool.
Michel,
Yeah.
what is index exactly? I lost it.
Okay. Index in the sine is the mole argument. Basically, it's the amplitude of that sine wave. But because it's in control rate, that doesn't affect the actual amplitude. It basically affects how much a spectrum is generated. So basically, index is index of modulation. It's like the knob that tells how much modulation. It's like less modulation or a lot of modulation. Mm-hmm. So as more modulation, you get more and more spectrum, and it gets noisier and complicated.
Okay, so it's amplitude.
It's the amplitude of the modulators, but it doesn't output as amplitude. It's perceived as changing the spectrum. Daniel is asking, can it be different kind of wave shape like sawtooth or something? Yeah, of course it can. The problem with sawtooth or square waves, they contain a spectrum by itself, so they are pre-modified and pretty quickly get pretty noisy. But yeah, you can try with that. I actually have tried, and results aren't that wide different. I mean, only working with sideways can be pretty cool, but still I have tried crazy things like use FM with a sawtooth, and that try to do FM to an input that is not a sine wave. So you can get out of the box if you want. So yeah, will be cool.
But you can actually make like square wave using FM modulation.
Yeah, you can. I
mean, if you like, I think like just double the ratio or something. I mean, you can
yeah, I'm not sure how it would be like the calculation for that, because the pro perhaps, or for example, square waves doesn't contain odd numbers.
Yeah, so I think like if you take 100 hertz and like 200 hertz for the modulans, like the carrier is something like that. I mean, that should work.
Yeah, but I think it will be super. It will be easier just to make that with additive synthesis.
Yeah,
but it will be a cool mini challenge to see if you can do it, because if you can do it, that will means that you are start to getting a new insight in how FM actually behaves. Mm. Also, mathematically talking is a little bit complexer than what I did in the whiteboard. That's like a abstraction of that. I can send you a video in FM that explains in YouTube like all the nonsense in the mathematical parts of the FM. I also myself, I have met John Chowning. He's a really charming guy. Well, he's pretty old now. When I met her, he actually slept through the whole concert, and he was like with his wife, but he was still pretty charming with me, and he congrats me and talk about a little the FM. I was like really a fanboy, so it was cool. So yeah, So now get to the next part. So now I'm gonna do that stuff that I said of putting a new frequency. For that, I will start working with SceneDef so I can change my arguments in real time and make this a little bit more dynamic. Also, we practice SceneDefs, you know? So I'm gonna call this SceneDef FM. So for my variables, I will put carrier, modulator, and modulator 1, right? So my carrier will be also another reason we're gonna use only sine waves is because by the end of this session, I want to have a SceneDef that behaves pretty similar to Yamaha DX7, and the Yamaha CX7 only work in sine waves. So cool. Also, another important thing of having digital synthesis is that analog synthesizers don't actually produce real sine waves. For example, if you go to an analog synthesizer and try out the sine waves that they have by default, usually, and that's one of the things that people that love analog will tell you, that is that the sine waves sound a little bit warmer because they are not an actual sine wave. They have a little bit of spectrum. They are closer to a triangle shape wave than an actual sine wave, because that process, the process of generating a pure sine tone in pure electronic, is so difficult. For digital, it's very easy. For example, supercadenza is just reading a wavetable, and that's all. Other softwares, they just directly produce this because there's a formula, not sine by cosine, I can say by divided by time. I have it from here. So yeah, that's also the importance of digital synthesis to make FM. So FM is better in digital because your actual operators are purer and you have better control of the results. As noisier your sound are, your sound sources like your modulator and your carrier, noisier the results will be. That's cool, but it's difficult to control. So I'm going to put this frec, phase, and amplitude. Well, I'm going to just put a continuous amplitude. And I will then make a modulator 1. I'm going to put just mod here, just to, have less characters. So mod equals to sine os dot control rate. This is going to be mod frec because it's going to be the frequency of that's modulating, 0, and index. So here I'm going to put frec plus mod frec to make the actual modulation, and then add mod 1. Mod 1 is basically this. Not mod. So here's going to be mod frec plus mod 1, right? And it's going to be mod frec 1 and index 1. So this one is modulating this one, and this one is modulating the carrier that is actually sounding. I hope that's kind of clear. So frec equals 300 mod frec equals 0, mod frec 1 equals 0. Why I'm putting everything at 0? Because I want when this initializes to have an output of a pure sine tone. So I can start modulating from 0 up to complex. Okay, so up to this point, are we kind of there?
Is that index 1 or is it 2 indexes or index?
Yeah, this is going to be index 1 because this is the index of the first mode and then the index of the second mode. I also am gonna add here sig just to have like a final signal. So sig is equal to pan2. So I want this in stereo. And I want to pan the carrier because the one that's actually sounding. And just put this in outlets. And start hearing some sound. Let's see if this works or if I poorly program it. If this works, we should hear at to 300
Yeah.
frequency, right?
It's not in
Tell me.
no in the carrier you say frec plus mod frec. It should be frec plus mod, no?
Thank
Yeah,
you.
okay.
Yeah. Yeah. That was like, yeah. Cool. I was like just zooming 0, right?
Yeah.
So now we should be hearing a plane sine wave at 300 hertz, like doo, doo. Cool. So it's basic stuff. So I'm gonna add this. Also, I'm gonna give you this if you want to like have the code and are having trouble. Because also, and I'm just like free making, just giving the by the end of the session, the FM syntax will be a little bit, well, it will be big, line wise. So yeah, but it's cool because with just one synth, you can generate tons of sounds. So synth, FM. So let's call this X equals. So X dot set frec 300. And let's do this. So this is gonna be mod frec, index mod frec 1, index 1. Yeah.
309.
No, yeah, I just want everything at 0. I'm just like making my knobs so I can like real time work with this. So yeah, so I'm gonna start just generating this 300. It doesn't matter which one I want. I will leave, you can see the scope here, right? I will leave it there so we can be real time hearing that. So there we go. Okay, so I go crazy to have like so different sounds. I make a couple of runs. I make a really noisy stuff. I like high pitched. Even sometimes you get like this rhythmic results out of the FM synthesis. And I just need to be messing up with these 5 arguments. And as you can see, I did it several times when I put the frequencies above and below the spectrum, because you can be modulating by, I don't know, by 25,000, even though that's not a hearable spectrum, because the resultants will be hearable, and that changes the spectrum. And as you can see, it's really wide. You can get like really tones, but you can get super noisy effects. Also, this was a plain tone. We're not even dealing with envelopes. And remember that timbre is the spectral content times envelope. So we are missing the envelopes to actually get to the next part. So well, up to this point, we're not even close to the finish. But are you have any questions or doubts or whatever? We're good. Cool.
Michelle, I have a question.
Yeah, please tell me.
Is it possible to use feedback? I'm not sure how to express it through one of the modules, through one of the oscillators. I mean, we can use as another signal, the output of a signal to the input of a control rate or an audio rate.
Okay, for example, the output of MODFREQ to be modulating what?
For example, MODFREQ 1.
Yeah.
Is it possible to do something like that?
Okay, so yeah, for example, yeah, so MODFREQ 1 is modulated. MODFREQ modulates MODFREQ 1 before MODFREQ 1 modulates MODFREQ or something like that.
Yeah. I mean the audio output, or maybe some part of those modules may module something else in the same loop.
Yeah, you can do that. Remember that the result doesn't transform. So these are not generating data audio until they actually get in here, right? This is the only one generating audio. These are control rate signals that. So yeah, but you can do that. You can even, for example, make that mod 1 is modulating itself, for example. And also I'm going to show you how to do that and why it makes sense or doesn't make sense. So let's take the break now before we continue. So I will leave this here. You want to work with it, and see you in 10 minutes. I'm back. Tell me when everybody's back. You can see Pepe, Morgan, Quentin. Wait a little bit. Now Hassan. No, it's Hassan no more.
I was just like quickly experimenting like with changing like all the parameters that what we did before. It's crazy. Like you can come up with some even like rhythmic pattern and
Yeah, exactly.
it's
When you
crazy.
get-
I mean, it's
When you get, if you put like high numbers, like above 3,000, and with
Mhm.
really a lot of index, you get like,
well, yeah, it's insane. I mean,
it's super cool. I really like this.
so is it like, so if we keep, because I know with the Yamaha, you know, you have like a lot of different patterns. So if you keep like stacking operator, you know, on top of each other, so do you get like some crazier rhythmic pattern as well as, you know, as you add up
Yeah,
operator on top, or?
well, yeah, that would be a good idea. I have never tried to stack more than 3, like carrier modulator, modulator, modulator. So one more modulator. But that would be a really good idea because obviously, well, if you move everything to the high part, you will get similar results. But I think that if you start to tweak, what I will show you in a moment is how the Yamaha works. They're like with operators, and we try to imitate that. So that's the next step.
And the feedback must be interesting as well. If you do some feedback loops.
Yeah. So, well, I think that we're back, everybody. Yeah, I hope. Still not everybody, but yeah. A bit more, 1 more minute. So, cool. Well, so now let's add, first of all, an envelope. So when we can start to work with like production of actual numbers. First one envelope, and then we level up so you can see what I'm talking about. So here in the variables, I will add M. So M equals, I can put the envelope up here. MGN. For this time, I will use m.linen. Let me show you how linen works. So linen, it creates a new envelope specification which has a trapezoidal shape. So basically it has a tag, sustain, and release. And in this case, sustain is actual time domain number. So if you want percussive, you put sustain in 0, and then you have a tag and release. That's a percussive. And with sustain, you have sustain. So it's not the best envelope, but it's one of the more flexible ones. Obviously, the .new one is a lot flexibler, but it's a lot of extra numbers that we don't need in this case. So I want to put attack, sustain, and rel. And then I want to put its non-action. It's like this. Non-action 2. And then here I want to put that C equals carrier times envelope. And if I add this, it should be working. No, rel, I haven't defined any of this. So the arguments I have to put here. Attack, sustain, release. So 1, 0, 1, just to give it a default. gonna put this between parentheses just to, because this will get bigger and bigger every time. So now, instead of modifying this general time, I will give all the parameters by initialization time so I can work with timber-wise production. So I got here, since, once again, I will copy this to the Facebook so you can have the patch right away. This will. So cool. So since and the scope FM, and then I'm just gonna put all the arguments by default. So I'm gonna put frac attack sustain at 0. Release 1. I'm gonna put like here frac mode index and frac mode 2. I need to Nakuma and index, actually index 1 and frac mode 1, right? Yeah. There we go. So by this, it should be a plain sideway with percussive envelope, just like a boom, well, a lot lower. Boom. Boom. What? Something is happening there. Did you hear that click at the end? Yeah, right. Japan to. Oh, yeah. Thank you, Daniel. Oh. There we go. So let's start modifying this. Let's get something with more attack, same release, and let's do it something metallic. Well, kind of metallic. So I will figure frequency, and I will start to make some random modulations and take it from there. That's pretty weird. No, why am I sure the modulation at all? Because these are called mod freaks. Not made freak mode or whatever that I put. There you go. Nice time to get metallic as I wanted. Still a lot of jumping, but let's start refining this. That was too much, I think. Let's get this. Move this around. Okay, that was weird. So you can see one change can change everything. So I like that a little bit. So I'm just put closer to that. I like that one. Let's leave it like that. This here. to make something different. Maybe something's wrong. 80 hertz, modified. So I want like a low tone that has a little bit of battlement, like boom, 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 and noise. So I will modify by a small number, and here by a random number to add the noise. I think this will work pretty well. So now with envelope, we start to produce sounds that are actually interesting, right? But get one step, next step. This envelope I'm using, well, it basically controls the envelope of the sound. But I have two more operators that can have individual envelopes. What happened if those modulators had its own envelopes? Those envelopes will be controlling what?
Index.
Exactly, index of modulations. And that's pretty cool because, for example, I want to go to the whiteboard just to get a little explanation of this. You know, this will be just volume and time. So imagine that my whole sound has this envelope. Dun, dun, is my sound, for example. Just the envelope I draw is just index 1 or index 0.1. I mean attack, no sustain, and a semi-big release. And imagine that the first modulator has an envelope like this. And the last one has an envelope like this. So this, just like it says, those envelopes will be controlling index. So it will control modulation in real time dynamically. So at first, in this part of the sound, you at first will get a really subtle modulation sound when it's start the attack. And as you attack, you will get more and more modulation because the modulation will start up. Then in the second section, up to this point, up to this point, you will have the more modulation possible in the sound, and then modulations will decrease radically. So you will start hearing the decrease of modulations up to this point, like up to this. And then you will get a final part of the sound that will be just a pure sine wave, this part, because the modulators will be no longer affecting the sound. So now that will change the timbre dynamically over time. Is this clear or not that clear? Cool, we're good then. Cool. So yeah, let's go back to Super Collider. So I will add envelopes here. M1 and M2. I can copy this. I will take it on action because I just need the master envelope to have it on action. In this case, always the master envelope has to be the carrier because that's the actual sound. Now that's to be shown too. So modulations. And I add arguments for everything so I can control dynamically this when I want. In this case, I had to add And then multiplications here. Mod 1 equals to mod 1 times M2. And mod equals to mod times M1. And now I have all acting together, right? I run this, boom. I can get this structure, put it here, and add this, and this. So that one, sustain one, for this one, two, sustain two, this two. Make this a little further, so show a correlation with this. Okay, there we go. So let's put this everything. I just want a plane wave, just to know that this is working the correct form. In this case, all will be acting together and there's no modulation, so it doesn't matter, but yeah, just to hear it. So let's start this modulation. So now, and I will make this a little bit like this. Now this will attack very quickly, but the modulations will last a little bit longer to enter totally, and then they will vanish before the end of the sound. So at the end of the sound, we will get it again, only for pure time. So sine wave, and at the beginning of the sound will last up to 1 second to get to its full modulation. So there we go. You can see here, I'm gonna get this up just to make it clear. I want this to be a lot, obviously. One. So now it changed, right? For example, I can take and make another example, a more obvious one. This, I want really something really percussive. So all the modulation is constant, is like focused in the beginning. This actually attacks faster than the actual sound, and then they start decreasing this at the quarter time of the sound. This at the half of the sound, and because this is last 1 second, the last half doesn't have modulation. Now let's do this example with a drone. hear this example. Sorry, I want this to be, well, it actually sounded good, so let's hear it. I like it, but I want this to be actually, I want it to be low-ended. That was a good behavior. If you added a river to that and maybe a ping pong partner, and you will get a very cool running piece or whatever. So it's clear how I'm managing the three envelopes to work with the modulation changes over time. Is there any question, doubt, or whatever up to this point? I like questions, remember? We're good. Cool. So now I'm gonna show you next stuff. This. So Yamaha DX7 algorithms charts I want. There we go. So actually, Yamaha worked with 9 operators. Up to this point, we have 3 operators, but Yamaha have Yamaha have just only six operators, not 9. So the double of the ones we're using. And this is the algorithms that they were using. In this chart, green means carrier and blue means modulator. So for example, here in 11, this right part of 11, this behaves like the one that we are making. Carrier modulate with a modulator and a modulator of the modulator. But for example, that 11 actually works this way. It has another carrier that is modulated by two modulators at the same time, and one of the modulators is modulating itself. And the results of those 2 carriers is outputted in additive synthesis. For example, this one here. It's a carrier with a modulator. And then we have a carrier with a modulator, and a modulator that's modulating itself. And those 2 outputs outputted in additive synthesis. For example, let's look at 22. I really like 22. A carrier with 1 modulator and then 3 carriers that are modulated by the same modulator that is modulating itself, and the result of those 4 carriers is outputted in additive synthesis. So remember, just like we see in other synthesis classes, is that wait me a second. Sorry, just like I said, usually to construct a sound, we need more than one part of the sound. Remember, we made the snare, we have the sound of the snare and the sound of the mallet with the membrane. So this is why it's cool to have more than one output. For example, this 23 is having just a normal plane wave that is not modulated, then one that is modulated by one modulator, and then 2 of them modulated by the same carrier, by the same modulator that modulates itself. So you can see that Yamaha DX7 has 32 different algorithms that can change a lot the way your FM helped with additive synthesis could work. So up to this point, are we clear how this is behaving? Or you have questions about any of these algorithms, how this would be like using SuperCollider?
So the number 10, so we have 2 modulators, and so, but for the algorithm,
Yes.
algorithm number 10. So yeah, so this one we have two. Yeah, so there are, so the two modulators are added by additive synthesis, and then they are modulating
No,
the carrier.
they are just well, basically this will be frec plus mod frec plus mod frec 1.
Yes,
In-
yes, okay.
Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly.
Yeah.
Then Daniel is asking, the 32 is an additive synth. Yeah, this is the 6 operators just outputted in additive synthesis, but the last one is modulating itself. So here, this one is modulating itself, just like this. There's plenty of them that are modulating itself. This auto-modulating itself, it was just a trick using Yamaha DS7 to have like a 7th operator, even though there are only 6 physical ones, right? We in SuperCollider, we don't have that problem of, because modulating itself, it's cool, we can do it. But I mean, we can use more than 6 operators. In number 4, yeah, I like this question. In number 4, the carrier is modulating the most nested one. Exactly. The carrier is modulating the modulator of the carrier. So yeah, so you can get really creative with this type of algorithms, and it changes a lot the way they work it, right? So this is like where the 32 original ones, because they then open the DX9, because it says here the DX9 had firmware that effectively turned into a 4 operating synth. It took 8/6-op algorithm from the DX7 list of 32 and removed operators 1 and 2 to produce these algorithms. Algorithms 1 through 8 are in DX7. Okay, well, this is like, really particularities of how actual, and you can see the original DX7 line had an envelope generator with 4 levels and 4 rate, not quite traditional ADC, but more flexible. Kind of what we're doing. Yeah, but they were using a attack decay sustained release. We are using an attack sustained release, but it's basically just open ADSR and we're good to go. So actually, this looks pretty similar to the colors I was using, but yeah. So cool. Any other question regarding algorithm stuff? I think we're cool then. Okay. So back to SuperCollider. So let's do this let's do something simple first. Somebody asked something. I like. Yeah. Okay. Whiteboard. So basically, our algorithm, I'm gonna use Yamaha colors. So basically, our algorithm works like this. What we're gonna do is we're gonna duplicate it to have it like this. So that will be carrier 1 and carrier 2 with two modulate. So basically, we're gonna duplicate what we already have. I think that Yamaha doesn't have this algorithm particularly, but still it's a 6 operator algorithm, so it would be a valid one because the Yamaha interface let you build your own algorithms. And that was like the cool part. Wait me a second, I just have to take a pill. So yeah. SuperCollider again. Where are you, SuperCollider? Yeah. Just wait me 1 second. I have to check something really quickly. sorry, back again. Very good. So yeah. So yeah, I'm gonna go to my here. I'm gonna make this a little bit smaller. So basically what I have to do is to just duplicate what I have to have double this. So I will take this whole stuff. Like this, and to avoid making extra numbers, I will just put a B, just to call it operator B to each one of the new ones. So then I have frag B, mod frag B, mod one, mod frag 1B, and index B, index B1, and so on. So that just will make it pretty easy to expand the code. There we go. Same with sorry. There we go. So that will be carrier B, mod 1B, and B, M1B, M2B. And also I can go like this. Copy holds this whole process like this. Take the done action here, because once again, remember the done action shut down the whole syntax. So I just can have one envelope with done action, because if two has done action, the shorter one will shut the sound before it goes. So for in this case, my A module will be like the master enveloper. That matter. So now let's add a ton of these here. B, B, yeah, B, 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 and B to the three envelopes. This is also B and B. Here it's mod B times, so mod 2, it's equal to sinus, which is mod frag modulating by mod 1B, one index B. Then multiply this by envelope, and the same for this one. In this case, it has to be B and B. So I'm gonna put carrier here. This will be carrier, and this will be carrier B. So here I can add that sig is equal to carrier plus carrier B. So the both modules are outputted in additive synthesis, then pan it, and then go to the out. Yeah, right. So I can go here, module A, module B, and signal managing. Signal just put. So that makes it a lot easier to read. Let's see if I do it this okay. And I'm missing a, I think this one is missing. There we go. And now I can pass you this to Facebook if you want to like just copy it by itself. I was doing information in a so little time, because I know that it's kind of gigantic by this point. There we go. Now I can take this structure this at 300. 0.1 just to have like at initialization default stuff. No index, so it starts with no modulation. Sorry about that. Something weird happened in my eyes. I lose focus of the screen for a moment. Yeah, so this should work like this. Yeah. And now I can copy this. I just added this and have both modules working, right? B, and B. So they should just be two equal sine waves sounding together. Cool. So now let's build a sound. I will build a sound, for example, that has a really percussive entering, but then it has something behind that goes and makes a little bit more of noise. So I will make some noise here with like an attack like this. No, that's index. So it will be attack like this. Okay. And a big release that changes over time. And just put like here mode freak, a really crazy number. For this one, I will do a really percussive stuff. But this percussion will have like the contrary type of modulation. For that, it will be something like this, right? And that has to be here. It's confusing. There we go. Tons of modulation. So in theory, we'll have a lot of percussive attack that change a little bit, and then the low part in the back sounding. Let's see. Well, obviously, I put
Attack
here.
attack 1B needs a comma, and
Okay.
also release 2 has I think maybe you wanted to do 1 or something. If in the first group you put
In the yeah, I put that stuff. That's okay. I didn't put release 2. That's what I wanted. Oh, sorry. Wait me a second. Just have to check something. Okay, so I'm gonna play this again. I will make this a little bit more, so I have also can make it more obvious, right? I have to change this a little bit so we can actually hear it. So now, well, obviously that was a really poor intended because to make this a more interesting, it should be the way I usually go is by affecting each part by itself, you know, like start hearing until you actually get sounds that you like. I'm gonna show you a couple examples. But you gotta get the idea of having two modules in additive synthesis so you can have different parts of the sound. So I'm gonna show you some examples of this idea. Ones that I have pre-made it, just because when I make that sounds, it took me a while to get there. So, and also I don't remember the whole process. It was more intuition and using my, but yeah. So I think this one has examples. Okay, this one, I think it has like a really poor programmed version of this, but don't worry about the actual, because here it has like tons of tone actions, and that's a problem. But don't worry about that for now. I just want to add a multiplicator here. So isn't that loud? But basically that one that we just saw is basically like the one we have, but with three modules, module A, module B, and module C, 9 operators. So here I have some sounds that I have pre-made it with this one, that basically it will be repeated in other ones. Chat. People have to leave for today. See ya next week. See ya, don't worry about it. Remember, you can see the video and go to that problems in your own. Yeah. So I'm gonna show you a couple of sounds. Also, the reason I'm gonna show you these sounds because these were intended to imitate actual organic sounds, and that's one of the main exercises that I recommend when you want synthesis. I mean, FM can pretty quickly do like sounds, really alienish, and they're super cool. I like those more. But having sounds that imitate organic sounds get you an idea of how sounds behave. So for example, here I have a gong that I made. Another type of gong. Here I have a snare drum. I have this one intended to be a glass bottle. This intended to be a wood block. This like a cymbal. And these were just variations of the more crazy variations, another type of more processed snare. And these are just weird sounds, I think. This is kind of drummy, I like it. Let's see this one. Another kind. But the most interesting ones, I think, are the gongs. I really like these ones. And I also like especially this one to explain like how each module is making a different part of the sound. So let's go with this one first. Oh, that was a lot of, there we go. So here, this is module 1, module 2, and module 3. I'm gonna separate it. So the way the thought process behind this basically was, okay, for making a cymbal, I need 3 basic stuff. I need first the hit of the mallet with a really short sound, kind of muted sound for the hit. Then I need the actual movement of the whole cymbal, the harmonic part, and also I need a really high pitched harmonic that stands longer to make it kind of a crash or a big ride. So first, let's hear I want to put this in 0 so we don't hear only, we hear the second one, that is the part of mallet hitting the metal. Really metallic, really just that part. And hear only the part that contains the harmonic distribution. Sorry. And then only the part that contains the high-pitched harmonic that stands out. It almost sounds like a bell, but if I put it together, they make a more convincing cymbal sound. I know this still is pretty digital and not like, but gives you the impression of these kind of things. Let's do it with the gong. This gong, this one, we're trying to imitate like this opera China gongs that are small. They have like boom, boom kind of sound. So let's divide the sound again by its parts. So first I have that sound that I think is the gong distribution. and with a little bit of boom, boom, like that glissando. Well, more than a glissando, that's actually a portamento. No, you come from behind and go up to the pitch that you really want. Then let's hear that high pitched part. I'm not sure what I was thinking at the time, but let's hear it. Not too bad. And I think that 220 should be the hit of the mallet. Yeah. And together they got pretty convincing, right? So that obviously this is without reverb, without any other effects. It's like the wet sound that comes from the jazz, but I like it. So that was just like one intention of the FM. Let's deconstruct another one. I like the woodblock. Yeah, tell me.
Yeah, just a question. Here I see you call the partial. So you have like car partial, modulation partial. So is it just, so you define the frequency in terms of ratio? To the...
Exactly. Because the problem is when you're trying to making like pitched sounds,
yeah,
you need that everything
that it moves together.
It moves together because that's not that. So here I have like a frequency, and then in this case, for example, the frequency and the car partial. So they are like making a multiplication towards the original frequency.
Yeah. So, but what is the car partial? Because so the mod partial is the frequency of the first modulator.
Yeah, the car partial is from the carrier. If I want to take the carrier out of the
okay, yeah, sure.
Like to the tune, the also
the frequency is the master one. Okay.
Exactly, the car. Yeah. That actually that was a very cool. Yeah, and you have like I don't know, and also here I think. My indexes are being multiplied. I mean, I'm pretty sure that here I'm multiplicating. Yeah, instead of summing. That's why here my indexes are so little, like 3 or 0.8, or like my big indexes go to 8 or something like that. Because I'm multiplicating instead of summing up. But then with time, I learned that summing is better because you have more control.
Okay. Is there like a theory behind because I think like the classic one is addition, but is there like a theory behind the multiplicative one as well?
No, I was just experimenting, and I'd say that they work super similar. At the end, I prefer the sum. Daniel asks, in the actual Yamaha DX7, the keyboard changed the carrier frec.
Yes.
I don't. You mean like the proportion of the carrier frec? Well, yeah, in a sense, yeah, because also the sounds in the Yamaha, you can put it in the keyboard and sample it, pitch sample it. So the Yamaha has the mod partial, carrier partial, so they are like going through the keyboard in order. That's also the reason that a lot of the sounds had so much like individual, a lot of them has like playing same ways without modulation, because they do that because FM gets pretty noisy pretty quickly. So if you want something that has a good sense of fundamental, a little bit of that synthesis helps the general sound. So let's hear the wood look. I don't remember the process towards the wood block, but let's hear just the. So I have that. I think they're pretty similar, just like in different pitches. Yeah, so they together, yeah, make a convincing. Also, it's very easy to make woodblocks or marimbas because that type of sounds have too little harmonic partials. So yeah. So that was like that process behind this. Let's show you something different. Other applications of this musically talking. Also, the next example is a newer one, newer in time for me. That means that it's better programmed, because that one's with the gongs and everything I think I do it in my second university year or something. So I was not that well of a programmer in Super Collider. I was mostly, experimenting, still in code and just switching it up until I understand stuff. So and that time I get like really obsessed with FM. That's what I get those sounds. So now here I have the examples I want to show you. No. Yeah, here. Yeah. So here I have a better one. This actually is like the ones we have. You see only one done action, and it's mode and like the first part and the B part. So it's a two modules. Like this basically this is a copy of the one we have. Yeah. So. So this is, for example, one of the examples I want to show you. Here I'm calling my EFM through an instrument. Here I put the correct, declare the arg sustain and release directly here. And in my pbind, this is different from the way I show you pbind. This is the alternative syntaxes. So if you add the asterisk, the square brackets, then instead you don't have to put this to the names, just the 2 points, and but it's really work exactly the same. I can show you the difference now. It's just an alternative syntaxes. So here I have a constant duration that's 0.125. That's basically a 32 notes, taka, 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 at 60 BPM. And basically here I'm controlling the frec mode, the index, in my frec mode 2 and index 2. I'm actually only controlling one module, but I'm using everything with pwideths, so they are like constantly changing. So every hit changes timbre algorithmically. And I really like it because you get like the constant, and even though it's algorithmic and they are different all the time, because they go so fast, you get like a constant idea of how the general sound, but still every hit is pretty different. And now it sounds awesome. I'm gonna change amplitude because I'm pretty sure that will be pretty loud. And let's hear it. And you see how it's pretty constant, even though it's all of the times giving like 2, and sometimes it gets like one sounds, and so I like it. For example, if I got it a lot slower, it will be more easy to perceive the timbres itself. So it's the fastness what makes the. Obviously, I experiment here with the ranges of my pwideths randoms until I get something that, okay, I like that. For example, the frec mode dose is oscillating between 1 and 2, so the oscillation is pretty little. Here, but here, for example, 10 and 20, and the index is oscillating a lot. So also the fundamental frequency changes a lot, so that's cool. Here are just some examples that I have pre-made. These weren't intended to be organic; they were just to be interesting. And I made it for a piece. So let's see just a couple of examples to share. Well, the difference from the ones that we're making in class is that I take my time to make this, like really take my time. All right, that's gorgeous. Let's hear another one. I like it. Let's hear this. Simple, but I like it. Ooh, this one has like industrial mixed texture. This one is in 2 modules. This one is making the and this the second module is making the part, right? Let's hear this. That's all I have here, but I have a lot of other examples. I have actually made a whole piece with FM synthesis. I can show you an example if you want. I have showed you something like that, the video screen that I make, the screen dance that I made with FM.
I don't think so.
You want to hear a little piece of that?
Yeah. So this one, what you just showed, this one using that's using a 6 operator.
Six
as
operator.
we
This
did.
is,
Okay.
yeah, that's exactly the same that I use. But I experiment a lot, and by the end of experimentation, for me 6 was enough to make tons of sounds. So the one I will show you, it's a screen dance that I made. It's actually this one.
The violin? No, yeah, we saw it.
You saw this one, the violin stuff?
Yeah, the violin, yeah.
Ah, okay, well, all the sounds were FM. A couple of them were granular. So just to show you another one also with the FM, it's pretty similar in the way that behaves, but I will show you just to give you a different one. Yeah, this one that is also danced. This one, and this one is what was with the ballerina that has electronic textile that I made that is using LEDs with Arduino, and the LEDs are coordinated via serial port with SuperCollider. And the SuperCollider is mostly FM, some sampling, and I think some granular synthesis. So I will just get it working. Just so yeah, general idea, you know. It was more for it's actually pretty short. It's 2 minutes and so it was more experimentation to see if the textile would work. Yeah, I was actually making some new prototypes. This was basically the textile was prototyped like this, and this was the actual result. It's not that elegant visually, but it worked at least that time. So now I'm planning to make something that is pretty more stable than those one. Here you can see the Arduino. This is one cell phone battery that was powering everything, and like a button that started the routine. So, well, yeah, those examples just was to show you that basically at first, FM could seem pretty wild, pretty like really changeable, but once you get the hang of it, you start to get how it works, and you can manage the way you use it in a more, at least for me, organized way. I have get super cool results out of FM synthesis, so I like it a lot. I will copy this one to this one, so you can have like that P-Vine idea. That P-Vine idea can expand, because with P-Vine, the thing with P-Vine is that you can algorithmically sequence frequency, modulation frequency, and the indexes, so you can get like this algorithmic production of timbre that is pretty powerful. And usually, even though a lot of other softwares have pretty good FM models, you can even download this plugin called the DEXSET, that is basically an imitation of the DX7. That algorithmic power that SuperCollider has make it a lot, for me, a lot interesting, at least in the FM part. And also you can get wild with operators here, right? Also, there's an object. I haven't used it actually. I don't remember the name. I will look it at my own time. But basically, it's an engine that makes FM by itself without the need of making it like manually by you. But I like more manually, because manually you can make like this summing up, multiplications. You can get a lot more specific where the way your syntax is making the actual algorithm. Also, a good exercise. I always thought that I want to do this someday, but I never have the time. But I want like to make a patch that has the 32 algorithms, and you can choose between them, and has an GUI, like a real rendition to DX7, all made in SuperCollider. And I mean, technically, isn't that difficult. The problem is that I need time to do it, because it will be pretty cool to make like a selection of syntax, so you can have like the bank of syntax, each one with its own algorithm, and through a selection in the GUI, you change the one to one, and change the, to be like really interactive and like almost like a BST, right? So, yeah. So then, anybody has questions, doubts, complaints, anything regarding anything that has to do with the ham?
Yeah, just the last one out of curiosity. So, when you look at like an analog oscillator, so most of the time you have linear frequency modulation and exponential frequency modulation, like, 1 volt per octave kind of stuff. So this difference, is it related to what we said before, like whether you add the frequency or if you multiply?
Exactly.
So, okay, so linear. Okay.
Exactly. Exponential will be the multiplication, because you will get like a lot of more exponential. Yeah.
So, okay. Yeah. So exponential is because
it's a multiplicating. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
I think you can even have like a mixture of those two inside the same scene, that you could do that and see what can you get to.
I have a question.
Yeah, Thomas, please tell me.
How do you do to create as a generative part of your FM music? I mean, you have created a list of sounds, a bank of sounds, and after I was wondering, what are the possibilities to create different generative system?
In SuperCollider?
Yeah.
Oh, like endless possibilities.
Yeah. Okay.
Because you can have like a really big syntax that generates sounds, and to make like really like complex situations in which algorithm, maybe data or decisions are happening, usually has to be a combination of p-binds and routines with loops.
Okay.
So we're not up to that part, but p-bind. First of all, to make it like algorithm or generative music, you have to get like really the hang of p-binds, because p-binds are the actual generative motor of this.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
Yeah. Because for example, when we need p-binds, I make like a really constrained p-band that only have like but you can make conditionals inside p-bands and change stuff. You can have like really complex systems of p-binds, and also. For example, if you have like some output, maybe you can change stuff in real time. Maybe you have data getting inside. Maybe you have like the decisions that work with Markov chains. I don't know, depending on what type of system you like.
Because I already did FM synthesis with MaxMSP.
Yeah.
And I found really interesting to try to find sound. And so after I saved the sound I was interested, but what I found difficult, it was to after how could I play it, how could I play patterns, or I don't know. And I just stopped at this point.
I know how to use MaxMSP. At least the basic part. I know how to make syntax. I have made FM in MaxMSP. But for me, the algorithmic part of Max is awful. You have to connect like tons of things, and they don't have like these cool operators that p-binds have, because p-binds itself have like this p, for example, p Poisson, and that p is working by itself with Poisson probability distribution, the one that Synack is used. It's also P Fibonacci, P Gaussian. So you have like a lot of P's. I would also like recommend to go through all the P patterns and start reading documentation and everything. Maybe I can get better examples at the end. Just to give a general, this workshop is more like synthesis oriented, because usually that's the most difficult part of SuperCollider. Get the hang of synthesis. At least for myself, it's easier to make algorithms than to make because algorithms goes like it's like the nature of programming languages, but synthesis is a particularity of sound production. That's why I intended that way. Also, I have other like semi-minimum, I have level 2 and other workshops that maybe could help in the future. But basically, just so you have a general idea, next class 6, and that's also help you. We're gonna work with buffers. So so we can make samples, we can work with audio file, we can do granular synthesis, we can make a looper that works with the microphone, and that part. When I started in Super Collider, almost all my patches worked with sound files. Because sound files are more interesting by itself. It's like difficult to get to that through synthesis. It's just that synthesis is better once you get the hang of it, but more flexible, not better. That's class 6. Class 7, we're gonna learn how to do two things. Well, everything about MIDI protocol. We're gonna learn how to program a MIDI controller to Super Collider, but also I'm gonna teach you how to connect MIDI, to send MIDI from Super Collider to another software. I do that a lot. For example, I construct my p-bands to make an algorithmic structure in Super Collider, and I just send MIDI through Ableton Live, and I use all the synths in Ableton, all the synthesizers in Ableton Live. And that's super cool. And also you can like record the MIDI in Ableton and everything. And in the last class, I will show you routines, because routines are pretty cool to organize systems in Super Collider. And then we're gonna make a little composition using routines, p-bands, and synths. And also the synths that we're gonna use in next class will be, one FM, one sampler, one additive, one subtractive. So like get that general, you call this like a recapitulation of the workshop.
Okay.
So, yeah, well, like I said, I usually, once I get 1 or 2 groups ended, I sometimes, for the people that like it, organize like a level session 2 of Super Collider. I'm gonna talk about that once we are near that. It's just for the ones that they like it, I don't know. And usually the topics that we go through in level 2 is like advanced feedback, advanced like coding, OSC communication, data managing, and yeah, we got routines, iteration, like more complicated stuff that doesn't go toward sound, but more toward managing systems. So yeah, that usually that are people that say, oh, okay, that's enough for me. I don't like code that much, or that was cool. And some people, I like it a lot. I want to learn more. So yeah, for example, generality systems, what I once made, I built like, I'm not sure the name for this in English, but in Spanish is terrario. It's like, you have plants and dirt, and I know.
Terrarium?
Yeah, terrarium, exactly. And I use a bunch of sensors to meet like the temperature. Yeah, terrarium. Like I was measuring a lot of things with these sensors that are Arduino cells, and I was getting all the data through serial port to Super Collider, and they were affecting like a generative system. So the music was changing depending on what the terrarium happened. Obviously, it was pretty ambient and pretty stable because, temperature, humidity, and things doesn't change a lot. And if you wanted to change it drastically, well, you would be like droning the plant, so keep doing something pretty weird. But it was most like a installation kind of project, yeah. So well, basically that was all for today. I know that was a lot of information, but I hope you like it. Like I said, I really love FM synthesis, so cool. So yeah, that was basically, also in level 2, we go through multi-channel expansion, multi-channel systems like composing for multi-channel domes and rings, and also how to make binaural renders of your music, like 3D with headphones. So that's also cool.
Michel?
Yeah.
I really like the sounds that were in one of the files that you've shown us.
Yeah.
Can we have the file?
The percussive ones or the crazy ones?
Yeah, the percussive ones, the ones that were a bit metallic, some bells and stuff.
Yeah. Okay. I'm just gonna give it to you. I'm gonna copy this on your patch.
Yeah, this one.
Yeah.
Do you have like a GitHub repo or something?
That if I have built?
Like a repository.
No, but I just make my account and everything, and that's my intention, to make like a big repository and everything, because yeah, I really believe in open source code and everything. I also working with other languages, so I want to also have like Arduino patches and Touch Designer, you know. But yeah, I want to make a GitHub for that. Once I get the running, I want to tell you. For now, well, here I just copy that big crazy patch with the gongs and everything. Also, I'm gonna look for it because I have another patch that works with MIDI that has other metallic sounds that I made with the same. I have like sounds more like boom, like you're hitting really big stuff. I like them. I like them. Yeah. So well, that was all for today's class. So next class, yeah, just if yeah, I can give you sounds. If you have some sound files prepared, that's okay too. Just remember, you want to use your own recordings. Don't prepare them. So because of Proton Collider also like MP3s, it only accepts WAV files and IF files. So just to know that in account. And that's all. See you next class.
Okay.
I'm gonna get everything up in the Google Classroom in a couple of hours. The video, the patch, and yeah. So if you have any question or anything, some of you, I'm sure because now I get confused sometimes when they write me to email, but they email me a doubt, and I get like I very quickly give them the response. I'm not sure if it was one of you. I think know it's other platform. I don't know, but yeah. So see ya. Have a great week, or yeah, now great night or whatever is during which I could. So see ya.
Okay, thank you. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye, guys.
Bye. See ya.